what's up, guys? Welcome to Law Explaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Arcata of Arcata Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today is a very special guest, Earl Gray. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm licking my wounds, getting ready for the next trial.
Yes, absolutely. So I do want to talk about the licking wounds aspect a little bit, not too much. As I understand, you have sentencing coming up still in Kim Potter's case. Is that set for January or is that set for later in March? I can't remember what you guys ultimately ended up on.
I believe it's later in March. I didn't really get the date.
Right. And because it had to be a little bit, it's a little bit jarring and surreal, when things come down that way, because you're there with your client. Obviously it's a huge impact on them. So certainly the feeling in the courtroom is, I would imagine, a little bit shocking, at least for me, in the cases I've had that go south. It's not the most fun feeling, for sure. No. I think you had to move it into March because you have the Thomas Lane case coming up right away in January.
Yes, January 20th.
Okay. And that's the federal case for Thomas Lane, not the state one, correct?
Yes, it's a federal case. He's charged with one count of depriving George Floyd of Mr. Floyd's civil rights by willfully, which means committed such act or acts with a bad purpose or improper motive. I'm working on the case right now.
Right.
And he, with the reckless disregard of depriving him of his medical services.
Okay. And I don't know how much you want to talk about the case. We could certainly kind of talk about that too. But that one is baffling to me because if I'm not mistaken, Officer Lane is the officer who suggested medical care be provided to Mr. Floyd. He was the one who checked his pulse and suggested he be rolled over. Am I remembering that correctly?
Well, the part you didn't remember is that he went in the ambulance and was the first one to give him chest compressions.
Oh, yes. That sounds very reckless.
Yeah.
Of course, my understanding of recklessness has been shattered entirely in this last trial. And
So
we got, in my opinion, a little bit of a novel theory coming from the state on what recklessness actually is. But again, I don't want to stray too far into that topic unless you're comfortable with it. But to me, I saw some strange things happening in the closing argument of the state.
So did I.
Okay, that's a good answer.
The strangest part of the whole case was locking her up after the verdict, because I guess I can't comment much about that, but I was pretty surprised about that.
I do not have the extensive experience you do. I'm a small town lawyer, and my casework was, pretty limited, usually to very small issues, right? Petty possession charges, some domestic violence stuff. But I did just have a case with quite a few felonies for theft, and we had a guilty plea, and so a definite conviction, but we had a pretty significant period for the pre-sentence investigation, and my client was never incarcerated until sentencing, right? So I was a little bit surprised to see her taken into custody right away when sentencing wasn't done yet. But yes, again, I'll let you abstain from comment on that one for sure. That was just my personal observation. But I did have a couple questions about the Potter trial that I do want to ask, and I think they're relatively safe. The first one is, I guess a lot of people are asking if there's an appeal coming, if you or Paul Eng are on the appeal team, or if there's anything you can talk about with that. Because I know a lot of our viewers had a sense that the jury came to maybe a conclusion that they didn't expect.
Yes, I've received many letters, emails about people that didn't expect the verdict. I certainly did not. I felt that an innocent mistake is not a crime, but apparently 12 people seated in Minneapolis, Hennepin County unanimously decided that she was guilty of both counts. It's quite shocking to me, just the idea that this mistake, backing up, the problem that I have with the conviction is that there's a case, State v. Engel, in Minnesota, that requires, either in reckless conduct or culpable negligence, that you're possessing a gun.
Right.
And they argued in their rebuttal, and I think that I haven't listened to this juror that gave an interview yesterday. Apparently my antics he wasn't impressed with. Well,
if you do read that article or listen to the interview, I would humbly suggest having a leather bit to keep your teeth from shattering.
That's why I haven't. I refused to read it or listen to it, and somebody mentioned that I can't remember who, but that the lawyer was not liking my antics, or the lawyer, or Paul Eng's antics, or mine, or Amanda's. And I really feel sorry for him. I'm sorry that I hurt his feelings like that. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to have antics. I try to try the case based on the law and the evidence that's believable.
Right.
One issue here that blows my mind is that you have to know that you have the gun in order to recklessly handle it. And the prosecution argued what they did, and the judge agreed with that. And conscious means knowing. And the prosecution argued that you have to know of the risk. Well, I objected. I was told to sit down. And yes, there will be an appeal, I'm sure. The procedure for that hasn't been decided by people that I don't control.
Right.
I suspect that Paul Eng will handle it. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know that.
Sure. Do you do much appellate defense work, or do you primarily focus on trial court?
I used to do some. I started out doing appellate work, and I worked for the state public defender when I was in law school for a year. And then after that, I worked as a public defender for misdemeanors in Hennepin County a long, long time ago. When the Gideon case was decided, Hennepin County set up public defenders for misdemeanors, and the state took that over. And I worked for C. Paul Jones. He hired me after law school on a contract for a year to work the misdemeanors, which was a great experience for a young lawyer. And after that, I became a federal prosecutor for a little over 2 years. And that was a great experience too, because I learned how to speak on your feet in misdemeanors. And then I also learned that you have to prepare cases in federal court. So
Right.
You have to actually read the reports. And so, because usually in misdemeanors, back then at least, you could settle them quite easily. Now, I guess it's a little different.
Yeah, misdemeanor pleading, it ends up, in my opinion, it's more of your ability to work with the prosecutor than it is to work a jury or a judge. You're not doing as much work on like probable cause hearings and stuff like that. You're really just focused on, okay, can we get this thing knocked out and minimize any impact for my client? Can we get this categorized as like a disorderly conduct so it doesn't look too bad on an employment application in the next couple of years?
Right. Yes. I remember those days. And of course, being a federal prosecutor is probably the best job you could ever have, because you have all the resources of the federal government, and most of your federal agents are professional. And they're fun cases because they're worked up for you, and you push a button and you get something. And I did that for a little more than 2 years, and that was very enjoyable. And then after that, I went into private practice, which I handled everything back then. I tried a lot of civil cases along with criminal cases.
How long have you been doing exclusively criminal law, if you had to estimate?
Well, that'd be about, I think the last civil case I took, and I wanted to end up victorious, of course, was Johnson versus Washington County. And I don't know if you ever read that decision. It went to the court. It was a case where the Johnsons, they had a boy and a girl, and they were at daycare at this school district place. And the daycare brought the boy, and I can't remember if it was a girl or not, but the daycare brought the boy to a Lake Elmo private swimming area. And weren't wearing bathing suits. We're just sitting there in the dresses, and the boy was missing. And the lifeguards, before checking the pool, which was a man-made sort of like a pond, and you really couldn't see the bottom, and they checked the bathrooms and everything else but the pool, which was insane. So I sued, and the boy was found shortly thereafter. Deceased. So I sued the Washington County, and I sued the school district. And at that time, a child's life, our law at that time was changing a little bit, but not much. For a wrongful death action for a child, it would be loss of consortium, and not. And of course, you had to deduct the cost of raising the child from that on the damages. And they always felt loss of consortium isn't much, but it was evolving a little bit. I'm trying to remember the lawyer that he was from. Oh God, I'll remember it. Anyway, at the time, I think they offered me a savings bond of $60,000 or something. I don't really remember. I went to trial on it, and we had a good trial. I got by with some things I probably shouldn't have, because the county lawyer, Washington County lawyer, and the school district lawyer weren't paying attention too much to my conduct, and were disputing issues between themselves. Well, it went to the appellate court, and then they affirmed the decision. By the way, the decision was $1.2 million, which broke all records at the time for a child death, especially a 6-7-year-old.
Yeah. So real quick, it's the reason that's such a big number is because a child hasn't, and it sounds cold and callous, but they haven't established their economic value yet. You don't know if they're going to be a janitor or if they're going to be, a world-class artist that makes millions of dollars. So you don't get the economic damages in the same way calculating for a child. You mentioned it's loss of consortium, or it was at the time at least, and that's basically the value of care and companionship that you would get from raising a child.
Yeah.
Am I describing that accurately?
Yes, that's absolutely right. And then you have to deduct the loss of companionship. You have to deduct the cost of raising the child, which has to be a law from way back.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, that's so it went to the Supreme Court. The appellate court affirmed it, and then the Supreme Court, I'm trying to remember, they took the conduct of the defense lawyer, which was me. They took that and some other issue. And by the way, on the way to the Supreme Court, the Washington County lawyer realized, or he claimed that he was laying in the weeds, so we'll go with that the Washington County could not be sued. They were immune. So we go through a jury trial, we go through the appellate court, and at the appellate court, it's learned for the first time that Washington County is out of the picture. Well, then we have school district. Thank God they had $1 million insurance policy, or I'd have been SOL on that. But they had $1 million insurance policy, so they offered a pretty good settlement. The clients did not care. They just did not want to deal with it. They didn't care about the money. They felt they were rudely treated by both the school district and the Washington County. Right. So we went to the Supreme Court, and they said, well, if the trial judge didn't think it was too bad, we don't either. One of the issues that the Supreme Court had to deal with was that I made a comment in my final argument that if we find for so-and-so, there won't be any more of these that'll happen,
Oh, yeah.
Sort of a punishment. No objection, though. No objection.
Rookie mistake.
Yeah. And then I equated the loss of this boy to when God gave up his only surviving son to open the gates of heaven. That wasn't objected to either.
That seems a little prejudicial.
Well, I mean, it's true. He did, if you're Christian.
Yeah, no, I'm with it.
I'm down in Washington County, and there are many, many Christians down there. So the jury, and in civil case, of course, the judge just calls you, or the clerk calls you and says, you have a verdict, here it is.
Right.
At the time, I was living out in Wisconsin on a sort of like a hobby farm on a lake property, which I lost later. But anyway, I got the phone, and the clerk says, yeah, you won. I said, oh, really? And I'm thinking, well, maybe they gave me a couple $100,000.
Right.
$1 million. I think it was $1 million too. I'm not sure of that, but I think with the expenses and that it was. Like, I couldn't believe it. I said, come on, you're shitting me. And they said, yep, and that's it. I think I asked for $3 million, hoping that I get 300,000. Anyway, that was my last hurrah with actually a civil trial, because I think I realized after that there are way too many depositions, way too many interrogatories.
Yes.
And with every deposition, you sit there for 3 hours because the defense lawyer is on the clock, and he has hourly, and I don't. So I went from that into fully criminal law.
Okay. Great story. I love that you made this victim was Jesus argument. That makes me really, really happy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was raised a Christian. I don't know if I still am, but I'm sure out of 7 or 6 jurors, I was surely in Washington County, at least 3 of them might be Christians. Who knows?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So getting back to the Potter case, the other question that I had for you was just kind of a general, were there any critical points in the trial that really stood out to you? I mean, obviously, I think the closing argument, there was drama around the objections that were raised and some of the tactics, but kind of focusing away from that, was there anything that really stood out to you as impactful in the trial, or anything that I don't want to say that you guys wish you would have done differently or anything like that, but was there anything that maybe just surprised you about how things were going in the courtroom?
Well, first of all, it is hideous to try a case with mask on. The jurors have masks. I wear a mask. I don't know how I could have how my antics were a problem when I had a mask on. But any event, I don't like. I've tried 3 cases in a row, all homicides, and I won the first one. And there was a glitch in time there where you didn't have to wear the mask, and the jurors didn't last year. In that murder case, I won. And then the next one was in Wisconsin. I lost that, and now we have, and he had to wear a mask in Wisconsin, and now we have the Potter case, and it's really when you've been in trials for so long and you're not used to wearing masks and the jurors wearing masks, it's not usually a jury trial. You enjoy it because you're all prepared and you're ready to go to work. And with the mask on your face, you're twitching your nose. At least I am. I am bothered by it. So I don't
me
know
too.
if I got off on that, but the next time like even this Lane case on the 20th, we're going to have to wear masks. But thank God it's a federal case, and federal judges are. Maybe I should stop right there.
Yeah, let's
because federal judges. Let's put it this way: federal judges don't run for election.
Sure.
And they know what the law is.
There are differences, other differences with federal cases as well, though, because you mentioned as a federal prosecutor, I mean, it's almost a different ball game of preparedness, tactics, because the state is coming with a case, like you said, with unlimited resources, and I
you mean the feds.
Right. Yeah. The federal state. Sorry. The feds are coming. Right. He's coming. He's got the stick in hand. They've prepared the case and they're going to really hammer in on the details. So you have to be prepared in, I think, a different way, but almost do you find it to be more straightforward than a state case?
Well, I find it to be more professional. Let's put it that way. Straightforward too, maybe. Depending on where you're at in state court and the judge, I usually enjoy a trial because I'm prepared and I think I can do it without too many antics.
Right.
Where in federal court, it's really professional. You stand up when you object. You stand up to the podium when you question a witness, and it's a different ball game. Let's put it that way. So, and I got many stories about federal cases that were fun to try. That's in the old days. I haven't had one in a long time, but I'm going to pop it early in the future here. Be ready for it. But I tried about 9 cases in federal court, and I did a lot of drug cases. The heavy duty drug dealers from Columbia would come into town, and I got a lot of those cases. And I used the defense of entrapment, that the agent entrapped the poor defendant into committing this crime.
Right.
And the defendant would never have been predisposed to commit that crime if it weren't for the antics, we'll use that word, of the agent or the informant. And I was reasonably or very successful on winning those cases. So I tried those, and it's sort of neat because you're now the prosecutor prosecuting the federal agent, and they don't like that, by the way.
No,
and your client is the victim. So I was successful in a lot of those, and you're right. Federal court. At first, you get, my God, I'm in federal court, but as long as you're prepared and you write the problem is you got to submit interrogatory or not instructions and submit this and that, which I'm doing right now for Lane's case. And I'm doing as little as possible because everybody else submits the material too. And I'll submit the material that I think we need. We now only have 3. We only have 3 defendants. Chauvin saw the light and pled guilty, which he probably should have. Chauvin is not well liked in Hennepin County. I could tell you, I have been reading. I better not go there. Never mind. It's really surprising, though. I mean, I a lot of my friends and relatives, and by the way, my son who watches your show, and actually my daughter does too.
Shout out to them. Thank you for watching, guys.
Earl Gray and Jason and Cole Gray, not Jason. He actually does too. Anyway, federal court is a nice place to try a case.
Yeah, well, kind of on theme of what you're talking about, but not as specific. We've had three, I guess, major now officer involved cases, right? We had Muhammad Noor a couple years ago, being the first conviction of a police officer, I think, in Minnesota involved in a deadly force incident. Was it the first one?
The first one was Geronimo Yanis.
Okay. Wait, was that the Philando Castile?
Yes, that was Paul and I did that one.
You successfully defended him, right? He was
yes.
Okay. Yes,
we had a decent jury.
Right. And see, now the interesting thing for me about that case is, so I saw it and I thought that guy was going to be guilty. So I guess good job.
Well,
that one.
My take on that is that if he was tried nowadays, after reading a substantial amount of questionnaires, I think we'd have a lot harder job getting him acquitted.
Yeah, that was kind of the question. Sorry, what was that?
Rule.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
It's really sad because the politics have now entered the criminal law and the criminal trials, and it's just sad that you got a prosecutor after the case bragging about how his team inflicted pain on this poor defendant. It just it upsets me. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of the question I was going to ask. I sure. Felt, now here's, I'll frame it this way. Sure. During Chauvin, I do believe that at least some of the charges that he ended up getting convicted on everything, but I think at least manslaughter was appropriate. However, I do feel like there were some issues during the trial where I thought, I don't know if this guy can get a fair trial in Hennepin County. No matter, again, even though I think there's some propriety in at least some of the conviction, but I felt like there were things that happened during the trial. I felt like the improper release of the civil settlement publicly, things like that made me question the ability to get a fair trial. And then with the recent verdict on Kim Potter, where I'm looking at my understanding of mistake, and I've talked a lot about this, so I won't belabor it too much, but where the mistake occurs is really critical in these cases. And when the mistake is such that you cannot manifest the intent necessary for the crime, then the mistake excuses the criminal prosecution. And then it becomes a civil matter at that point, if there's something that needs to be done. So with that, I was just wondering if you feel like there's the possibility of having, I guess, an objectively fair trial for a police officer right now in the current climate.
It's going to be difficult. I'll tell you that. We're in the process. In Lane's case, we're preparing that case, and right. Yes, it's going to be difficult. Fortunately, it's a federal case, so there will not be a lot of Hennepin County jurors.
Sure.
We'll have jurors from all over, maybe even from where you're located. And that's better because they're not poisoned by the Star Tribune, which is,
right.
It's ridiculous.
And even just the impact, right? I think that was another big strike against Chauvin. And I would say even Kim Potter is in Hennepin County. You have the direct fallout of the situation, right? You have these riots that happen. There's big things, and people experienced that, whether they, whatever they felt about anything else. I mean, heck, even out here, we had a couple George Floyd protests. I'm 2 hours west of the Twin Cities, out by Wilmer. So we had a couple protests, and obviously they're small and much different character. But when you feel the impacts way out, 120 miles away, yeah. It's the jurors inside that area are definitely going to have felt it. And so I was wondering if you think there's going to be a move to try and and change venue on these types of cases out to maybe outstate Minnesota, or move it down to Mankato or over to St. Cloud or something like that?
Well, there's a change of venue motion on the state case with Lane, King, and Thau. And the Judge Cahill hasn't not decided that yet. But
Sure.
as I understand it, but he's making plans for the trial on March 8th in Minneapolis. So I believe what the order, and it's absurd to try that case in Hennepin County. And I really believe that now after the Potter case, they definitely should, go someplace up north. Rochester even would be better than Hennepin County. It's mob rule there, in my opinion. I think, and maybe not all of the jurors, but I can't not believe that when they're transported here and take a bus and back, like the marshals or the sheriffs are worried about their safety. Do you really think that isn't in their mind about the mob rule and the protest and burning down another precinct if they find the person not guilty?
I think it has to be.
It has to be. Just the idea of being locked up in a hotel is nowadays something that is not fun for anybody.
They used to sequester juries with a lot more frequency. Now they seem to try and avoid it, and it almost seems like now they need it more than ever with the way social media works. Because I don't know about you, but we were talking here, thinking when these jurors go home after a day of trial, there's almost no way. If you go on Twitter or you go on Facebook, you're almost guaranteed to see something in one of these major trials, especially when you got some jerk from Minnesota broadcasting the trial live, right?
Well, yeah, that's well, and then some people are addicted to their phones. You walk down the street, everybody's looking at their phone. It's they got masks on and they're looking at their phone. What a new era.
It's a strange one.
Yes. You can go into a restaurant and there'll be 4 people sitting there and they'll all be looking at their phones, talking to somebody or reading somebody. Nobody's talking to each other. There's no why go out with another couple. But anyway, that's another issue.
So a friend of mine sent in a question earlier. This is my friend Ty Beard. He's an attorney down in Tyler, Texas. He says, "Howdy, Earl from Texas. Despite the outcome, it was a pleasure watching you work. Could you tell us a little bit about how you get past cases like this and move on to the next one?"
I haven't gotten over Potter at all. I'll tell you, the only way you get past it, and I think most lawyers that try serious felonies, is to try another one and win it. Because then the one you lost, when you go to bed at night, and you think, what the, did I do? How could I lose that? Or what am I doing wrong? Or God, my client is going to prison, or he's got life. All those things are in your head.
Right.
No matter who you are, a lawyer will say, well, there was a great criminal defense lawyer in St. Paul. He's deceased, great guy. And his statement would be, and he'd fight like hell for his clients. He's a very good lawyer, excellent lawyer. And at the end of the case, if the jury came back with a guilty, this is his story, the client would pull on his arm and say, my God, what are we going to do now? And he looks at his client and says, well, you're going to jail. I'm going over to Galvin's to the bar and start drinking. Yeah, there's another great lawyer that I officed with for years. He was sort of my mentor. I love the guy, and probably one of the best lawyers ever in Minnesota, Doug Thompson. He had a vision of heaven that with a bottle of the real bad whiskey that's 140 proof. Sitting in the courtroom with I don't remember the name of it. Assume it's Jack Daniels, but it wasn't. With a bottle of Jack Daniels and a not guilty verdict, and you can imagine what sex act was being performed. And that was his model of heaven.
There is a special type of feeling when you win a case, though, even when you win just a motion hearing or something, and you see a positive result for your client, that you don't really get to replicate, right? Like again, my limited experience is you've got this person, and they're, no matter how big or small the case is, this is extremely stressful, criminal or civil. A lot of times you're often encountering people at the worst parts of at least this phase of their life. And so being able to give even a small amount of relief is just the flood of emotion that they get. It rubs off on you.
Yes. And the reason you keep doing it is that when you get a win, as Doug would say, it's like being in heaven. I mean, a victory when you take on the state or the federal government on a criminal prosecution, and you're in that courtroom, you realize you're the only person here that's fighting for your client.
Yeah.
And it's quite awesome. I mean, I loved it. I enjoy trying cases. It's a lot of hard work. Where did you go to law school?
William Mitchell.
Oh, that's where I went. There was a lawyer there that taught evidence. I'm trying to remember his name. He had an Irish name. And he said, the reason you bill high for trying cases is because every time you lose one, it takes a little out of your life that you don't, there's times where you lose your life. And he's right. You get in these cases, you work on them for a year, 2 years, and or even a month. And you get in there and you don't try the case if you think you're going to lose it. And I think that's a mistake of a lot of lawyers nowadays. They go into the case with their head down thinking they're going to get their ass kicked, and instead of at least finding some issue that you can argue. So I don't know.
Sure. So going into this idea of the difficulty of defending police, but more broad than that, just criminal defense in general, and the politicization of the criminal court, right? With the Chauvin case, we saw a juror come out afterwards, and this is one of the problems that I had with how Cahill handled that issue. Is he didn't? Is it a Schwartz hearing that he didn't provide for the juror, who it turns out maybe misstated something on his jury questionnaire, right? About the participation in the in a anti-police rally in Washington, D.C. Do you have any thoughts about, I guess, how to effectively screen against that? I mean, you've been involved in jury selections for longer than a lot of people have been alive. So I didn't know how to say that politely, but I'm appealing to your experience.
My kids still love me.
Good.
Yeah, the prosecutors on jurors, when they get the jurors, they can look them up on. They're required to show us their criminal record and things of that nature. The jurors, I think, I can't. But you can look that up nowadays too. I mean, the internet, you can look up a juror's crimes and all that stuff. But
and you guys did that in the Potter trial. I mean,
who told you we did that? Who told you we did that?
You guys did in the during voir dire. Paul Eng was questioning one of the potential jurors. She came across as very reasonable, and then he pulled up social media statements. Right?
Oh, yeah.
He was ready to go.
we had there.
But you have to, right? You have to do it now, and I mean that is such an increased burden on the defendant, in my opinion, because you've got like in this case, I think you had a jury pool of like 200 jurors initially, right? And so
I
that
really
adds,
don't remember. I don't remember.
okay. I seem to remember hearing that. Obviously, you didn't get through that many jurors, but you have to research a significant number of jurors, and each amount of research that you do incurs cost for a defendant, and it's it adds up quite a bit, but it's something you have to do. So with that though, I have no idea what Eric Nelson's process was, but you have this juror who misrepresented on his voir dire form what he had done, and then I'm just curious if you're concerned about that in the political climate. I mean, if someone is motivated politically to be on a jury, in these higher profile cases, and with the spread of social media, do you think there's more of that going on where jurors are more inclined to lie than they would have been, say, in 1985?
Well, I don't know if they're more inclined to lie. Uh, when I started out as a public defender, there was an old Judge Kontorowitz in Minneapolis, great guy. And on these misdemeanors, I was getting frustrated because I felt that the police officers were not telling the truth. And I was a little bit naive at the time. And Kontorowitz took me in his chambers alone. He's, I want to talk to you. And I go in there and says, you got to understand, Earl, the lying starts with the voir dire. If somebody wants to be on the jury, they're going to say they can be fair. If they don't want to be on the jury, they're going to say they're going to be unfair. Remember that. And then they swear an oath. The witnesses swear an oath. They're going to tell the truth. And what they're really thinking is, now this is a license to lie, this oath. So remember that, Earl. Nobody, it's adversary proceeding, and some people tell the truth, but a lot of them don't. And you've got to be the lawyer to ferret that out. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I do have the concern I have, besides this mob rule and people cheering for the misery of somebody who gets convicted, which is sick. But the problem I have is ever since, I don't know, I'm not blaming it on Trump. The more I see of Biden, I don't know what's going on, but it seemed that when Trump came to the forefront, all of a sudden there wasn't any compromising anymore. Everybody was either on one side or the other. There was a cartoon where the family gathering, nobody could talk about anything because everybody be arguing about it.
Well, that's no, for me it's weird because my family, both my family and my in-laws, largely politically on the same page, but personally, even friendly political conversation, I don't want to have it. Like I'm it's like, but it's permeating into every conversation these days, and it's very weird because it's like I just want to kind of hang out and talk about stuff whatever, anything other than the stuff that we see every day on our phones and in the news and everywhere else. But
how about me? I after the Potter case, I go to family gatherings and see people, and all they want to do is talk about that, and I sure as hell don't want to. So I sort of stayed home most of the time.
Yeah. Well, on that note, let me ask you another Potter question. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah. No. Then Cole came home, the one that told me to call you.
Yeah.
He lives in California, and all he wanted to do was talk about the case. And I said, Cole, no. And he been out there. He's got he's very, very, how would you say it? There's no middle ground with him. He's one way or the other. And and so finally he realized I didn't want to talk about Potter, but he'd squirm into it. Yeah. And it goes back to what the lawyer in Texas asked. I mean, it's like, it's sort of like a death in the family. It's not that severe, but when you lose a case that you feel you should have won or that you've worked very hard on as a defense lawyer, and you lose it, any good defense lawyer will tell you that stays in your head for a while, if not longer. And the way to get it out is to win a case, and then you can think, well, I'm now on top of the world again.
Right.
If you keep losing for 2 or 3 in a row, you might want to try another profession, because by that time you'll be taking drugs to, what's that, Valium or something. But anyway,
Well, a lot of a lot of lawyers that is kind of a
I'm
problem
done.
with
What do
lawyers.
you want? Do you have any more?
Yeah, sorry. I do have.
I read in the Minnesota Lawyer,
Oh,
what?
Go ahead.
Can you
Sorry,
hear me?
there was. Yeah. We had a little connection blip, and so I think we were out of sync for a second. You were saying that you read in the Minnesota
Oh.
Lawyer.
Yeah, today there was a some area where there was a ex-prosecutor who got fired apparently for sexual misconduct, and now he's been charged with with one forcible rape in his office. So read the article. It's pretty crazy.
You going to take that case?
No, it would depend. I have to pay my taxes.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. I had another question, and now my brain is blanking on it. Oh no, it was actually simple. What's your favorite case that you've ever defended?
Well, there's probably 3 or 4 of them at the top. Civilly, that case I just talked about was
Right.
by far my favorite. Although there were a couple. Criminal, I defended along with Barry Voss the Jordan sex ring.
Oh, down in Jordan, Minnesota.
Yeah, how old are you?
40.
So you weren't even alive in 1954, were you?
No.
This was 53 and 54, and Kathleen Morris, the prosecutor, had charged, I can't remember how many people now, and I was at the time, I figured I had a pretty good case, and I did not want anybody to try their case first. I wanted to do it, so because if one person got convicted, and I think there were 20 people, and the allegations were that these neighbors would get together, and then their kids would go play hide and seek, and then the neighbor would go find a kid, not theirs, and sexually assault them.
Oh dear God!
Yeah, that was one of the allegations, and there were many more. And my client was who's deceased. The case actually killed him, I believe. My client, great guy, worked for the Ford plant. I worked at the Ford plant when I was in school, but no way in hell would he ever do that. He had 2 boys or 3, I can't remember. So, and there's something wrong here. Well, anyway, we get into the case, and this prosecutor totally had violated every rule there could possibly be in interviewing children, in giving them treats, storing them all together during the trial. We finally did. It went on for a month. We tried the case. The jury was out for a week. I think there were 28 or 30 counts, and we won every count. And of course, the funny story is, if you want a funny story too,
I do, because that story started off terrible.
Yeah, there were. I think we had 5 children testify, and I was demeaned and viciously attacked for being tough on these kids. I was on Nightline at the time, which was live nationally, and everybody thought I was an asshole for cross-examining these children. And then later on, I think they realized that if a child's going to lie, you got to get there some way to prove it. But the funny story on the case is that it was a 5th day, and I had become friends with the artists, because in those days they didn't have cameras in the courtroom. And on Friday, the 5th day, I think it was Friday, I hadn't drank for a month during the trial. It was very. I lived in Wisconsin, had to drive to Chaska, and it was a very difficult case. Barry Voss, who's no longer a lawyer, but was with me, and he was a young lawyer. He was a very good lawyer, I thought, very helpful. But most of it was on my shoulders. So at noon that last day, we decided we're screwed. It's going to be a hung jury. So we might as well start drinking. I got the photo in my office. If you're ever up in St. Paul, stop in and I'll show you. It's a headline in the paper, the win, and I've got my arms over the father and the mother after the verdict, and you could tell if you knew me that I was a little bit inebriated. That was after the verdict. So
you got the glaze in the eyes a little
bit. I had a smile on my face. So the next day, and Ronnie Meshbesher, who was another great criminal defense lawyer, was a good friend of mine. And the next day he sends me a note. No emails in those days. Sends me a note and he says, "Congratulations, Earl, for winning an acquittal. But hugging them? Is that serious? Are you serious?" Something like that. He objected to me hugging them. So, but that was probably the case that turned my career around to doing misdemeanor drunk drives. And I did a lot of felonies too. But at least I was able to raise my rates on fees, which is always important to a criminal defense lawyer. And I learned through, and I'm sure anybody that's been a criminal defense lawyer, you learn if you don't get it up front, it's a cold day in hell when you're going to get the rest.
You're not getting it.
No. And of course, if it's an interesting case, you say, "Well, he'll probably pay me." I had Doug Thompson. If you knew him, you knew to go there on Friday to hire him because he needed money for the weekend. We used to call it drinking money.
So his retainer would drop significantly on Fridays.
and he was probably the best lawyer, one of the best lawyers in the state of Minnesota. So, yeah, I had a lot of fun for 50 years. I really don't have any hobbies. So I'll keep doing this for a while. I guess I got a few cases backed up.
It's what you do now, right? Like you found your niche in the profession. You found your niche in I think of it as you've merged your hobby with your work.
Yeah, true. That's right. So that Scott County case, the Jordan sex ring, was a big case. Then in probably one of the cases that I really worked on and felt she was so innocent. In Dakota County, it was a babysitter or daycare provider who took care of this 2-year-old, and she was accused of first-degree murder, a pattern of abuse, and murdering the 2-year-old. And that was a life sentence, by the way. And in those days, she was out on $100,000 bail. Believe that now, oh my God, you can't let her out. You can't let somebody out on a low bail. And at that time, it was sort of a high bail. It wasn't bad. She bailed out. We tried the case. We went to the appellate court a couple times. I won the case. I didn't have anybody help me. And the jurors, I've got some place in my office or outside here. The foreman of the jury wrote a note to the paper about the Dakota County prosecutor Backstrom, saying how difficult a case was, and the juror wrote back that it really wasn't a difficult case. It was clear that she was innocent. After that, most of the jurors threw a party for me, which was on national TV. That was a big one. And then the most other serious case was two other cases that a triple homicide in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I was hired by a Minneapolis detective to represent his son. He sat in jail for over a year, as I remember it. We tried the case in La Crosse. It was a circumstantial evidence case, and I won it all when he was released from jail. That was a big case, 3 first-degree murders.
Wow.
And one of the most fun cases was a federal case, and it was an entrapment case too, by the way. A guy named Cambyse, I suppose I can't. He was a New York Iranian Jew, and they lived
Okay.
together in Long Island. And they
A New
lived with,
York Iranian Jew. That's
yes,
an interesting combination.
yes. They rode camels out of Iran to escape to Turkey.
Sure.
I'm not lying about this.
No, I believe it.
So anyway, he's in a coffee shop. I don't know how, it's almost 2. Do you have time for this?
I have all the time in the world.
Okay. He's in a coffee shop in New York, and he sits down, and this guy named what the hell, Parvelius. He was where was he from? He was a illegal alien from, I'll think of it, from Greece.
Okay.
And he's here, and he runs into the Iranian Jewish guy. I don't want to mention his name. I don't know. Anyway, so they devise a scheme, and this guy from Greece had just 2 years before that had testified on a huge Colombian drug case in the federal courts in Minneapolis. And at the time, he said, you get the snitch, especially in those days, the snitch on the stand, and you hammer him about what promises have you had.
Right.
And he said, no, I cut a deal, but it's for, I think he said 10 years. No other agreement. And he was an illegal alien. And he testified in that case, and all the Colombians got convicted. And what happened, a year and a half or so into his sentencing, and I found all this out in my discovery on the Iranian Jewish guy.
Right.
The prosecutor had sent a letter to the Bureau of Prisons to release him after a year and a half, that he's going back to Greece. Well, he didn't get on the boat. He didn't get over there. He ended up in Florida, where he had a warrant for something, and then he escaped that warrant. He's now in New York, and he runs into this very naive kid about, I think he might have been 25 at the time. I don't know. And through a long, long process, because the boys, and he wasn't a boy, he's about 25 years old, they work in the, I don't know, where they make dresses in the, what's it called?
The textile plant or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, they make dresses, they sell dresses.
Yeah.
And his father and a partner, I think it was his brother or something, had this business, and the brother, or the partner at least, had screwed his father, he felt. So the Greek informant says, here's what we'll do. I got people in Minneapolis that will kidnap the kids of the partner. We'll hold them ransom until they pay us the amount of money that your father got screwed out of. The guy bites on it. But in the meantime, while the snitch, the Greek illegal guy, he also gets with this guy. While we're doing that, we'll make some extra money, and we'll send these dresses out to Chicago, and we'll claim that there was dresses in there and there weren't, and we'll claim insurance fraud. And so he agreed to that too. So now and it goes on for a while through the summer, and the Greek, the guy, now we have the Greek guy telling the Iranian Jewish guy that I'm getting this guy from Minneapolis. You're going to have to go up and meet him though, because we got to solidify it. He has to see you to make sure that this is solid. You got to fly here and meet him. So of course he flies here.
Oh no.
Yes. He flies here. And of course the hitman is not a hitman. He's an FBI agent undercover with every video camera in the world in this motel room. Yep. Where, as I recall, he gave him $500. That's all that PMBs could come up with at the time.
That's a good price for a hit.
And there was a installment payment.
Oh, okay.
So that happens, and there's a couple more conversations. He leaves. They let him go back to New York, and there's some more conversations. And finally, he gets arrested for conspiracy to commit murder, or to kidnap, not murder, to kidnap this guy. and conspiracy to commit mail fraud. So that's that. So we go.
Yeah. So
we go to trial, and of course I popped the entrapment defense on him. That my guy was a babe in the woods, had no idea what he was doing, got conned into this by this Greek guy who's a learned criminal. And what I did, I went back and I went to New York. I flew to New York. I was into this case, and there I got this Greek guy's pending case for robbery, where he robbed some guy in the street. He was a very violent guy.
It sounds like a gem.
Yeah. So I get all that information, and I've got a stack of information on this guy you couldn't believe. And I went after him for a long period of time on cross-examination. We had Judge Murphy, a great federal judge. She was great. And I cross-examined him for a long period of time. And I really, at first he was a cocky, learned snitch. And by the time I got done, he was in trouble, I felt, because I popped that letter from the government where he got out in a year and a half, all this stuff. So that case goes out to the jury. And, it's a tough case because the guy flew here, paid him, and all that. And the jury acquitted him of everything. He was found not guilty of everything. Went back to New York. Haven't heard from him since.
Well, hopefully things went well for him after that. But yeah, well, because it's entrapment's such an interesting thing, because if he had approached the Greek guy and said, "Hey, I'm looking for someone to do this," he's guilty. But because the guy pops the question to him and proposes the plan and makes the arrangements, that's the entrapment difference. And it's a tough case, because usually it's falling somewhere in the middle, right? That's how
I had one where my guy was the child of a noted, Minnesota doesn't really have any questionable people, but he was a child of a family that was well known. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
And, it was well known also that he was gay. So the government sends a good-looking. They got him out of the school, the cop school. Sends a good-looking guy into his bar and starts talking to him. Next thing you know, my client is selling him coke. Not just, this is back in it was the mid 80s. And
sounds like it if someone's selling someone coke.
Yeah. And I think there were 5 or 6 buys. And so then they decided, and the guy comes in, so we're going to party, but let's get a couple ounces of coke first. And of course, my client thought partying meant, a sexual endeavor. And of course, the government said, "Oh no, we're just going to go party and do the drugs," which they never did. So he sold them 3 or 4 or 5, I don't remember, 5 times. And I tried that case under the theory he was not predisposed to sell drugs. He wanted to make love to this guy, and in my final argument, which
that's a tough pitch in the 80s, I think.
The drug enforcement agent, who now was he was, I'm not sure if he was. I think he was just a drug cop. He wasn't in the DEA. They got him out of school, and I looked to him in the courtroom, and at that time, the movie 10 was a big time movie, and I said, "Why would they use a perfect 10 in this guy?" They have many, many agents. Well, that jury came back and found him not guilty and went over to his bar and said they felt sorry for him.
That's fantastic.
That was a fun one. I didn't make many friends back then with respect to the drug cops, I can tell you that. And this guy got teased for years by his police officers.
I don't want to keep you too long. I know.
I probably should get back to work.
I have a lot of other questions for you, but I have one final question for today. Well, it's 2. It's one with a quick follow-up. You mentioned drinking before. Do you still have a drink from time to time?
Are you my sponsor?
No, I'm not your
No,
sponsor.
I will imbibe tonight. Is it Friday? No, tomorrow
It's
night.
yeah, tomorrow's Friday and New Year's.
Tomorrow. Yeah. I drink. It's sort of nice when you're older like me because you only have to have 2 drinks and that's all you need. I'll
Sure.
have a drink. When you're younger, you drink more, but I'll have a Grey Goose vodka with no vermouth straight up at home once, when I get home Friday night. But I don't.
Okay.
No.
That was my follow-up question was what do you, if you do drink, what do you like to drink? So.
Well, when I'm I do ride motorcycle, and when we're out in Deadwood for the motorcycle rally, I drink Jack Daniels. But usually, when I'm not a big time biker, I drink Grey Goose vodka.
Very good. Very good.
And one last story about that. I was at
yeah.
a lawyer's thing, and I was bragging how much Grey Goose vodka was better over that vodka. I don't know, it's some other K-Tel vodka.
Oh yeah.
So this,
Kettle One or whatever.
This girl put up 6 shots of vodka, 6 different vodkas, and she said, "Okay, tell me which one's Grey Goose." I had no idea. So it's all in the brain. All right.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
Okay. Well, thank you.
And
go ahead.
And I was going to say, and I will next time I'm in the area. If I'm in during a weekday, I'll stop by.
Yeah. And if you want to talk some other time after the Lane case, and I win it. If I don't win it,
if you don't win it, I'll never call you again.
No, it's all your fault. It's not my fault. That's what clients say when you lose. Kim wants to do that, but all right, take care.
Thank you, Earl. You have a great one.
How do I turn this off now?
There's right at the bottom. There's a little red X that says "Leave Studio." If you click on that, it'll take you out.
Thank you, Nick.
Have a good one.
Yep.
Bye. Oh man, that was a fun interview, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. That was Earl's a gem. A man who's been doing criminal defense work for quite a long time in Minnesota, one of the highest profile criminal defense lawyers here. We obviously just saw him on the Kim Potter case. And I know many of you have sent super chats. I will get to them. I didn't want to, since we only had an hour, I didn't want to take up that time with chats. I wanted to get as much Earl stories as we can. And joining me now, though, is Mr. Uncivil Law. How you doing, buddy?
So what I'm hearing is that the drink of the accomplished attorney, the one who gets in.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Kurt there. I have no idea.
What no clue. The choice is Jack Daniels from the accomplished attorney, the one who knows how to get it done. That's what I heard.
I didn't hear that. I had technical difficulties.
Did you hear that Jack Daniels is the choice of accomplished attorneys?
I don't know, but I heard that he actually can't tell the difference between Grey Goose and other forms of vodka, which I can very much empathize with.
I'll tell you what vodka you can always tell the difference between it and all the others. Military special vodka. You can pick this one out of any lineup. I promise. It's disgusting.
I was going to say that looks like a cleaning solution.
It's awful.
Like what you use to clean the floors, maybe the countertops.
Yes, right.
The man is a legend, though. Some of the cases that he was talking about, I caught the last bit. Some of these cases are just legendary because we all know how hard entrapment defenses are to win, and this guy winning entrapment defenses with murder for hire and kidnapping for hire.
I wanted to ask him about Whitmer.
Wow.
I wanted to ask him about Whitmer. His thoughts on that.
Yeah, really, exactly.
Maybe after the we'll see. Maybe after the Lane case, we could get him on for a panel discussion and talk about stuff like Whitmer. I think that'd be really interesting, actually, to get his take on that.
So I missed the first half. Did you guys talk about the present case that much?
A little bit. I didn't want to talk about it too much because he's got sentencing coming up.
Yeah.
And you know, when you lose, you might have some thoughts that you don't want voiced.
You might not want to say, for example, the judge is a hack. That might not be the best strategy at this time.
Right.
Okay.
It's that's, you nailed it. because I know what I would want to say in his shoes, because especially after reading the juror interview, which he has not read, but he's clearly gotten some sort of snippet from it. But after reading that juror interview, the prosecution's theory on recklessness, which should not be allowed, in my opinion, was a deciding factor in the case, and that, I think that's what they objected to and were overruled on, and so having that be a predominant factor.
Well, if he wants to farm out some of the appellate work, maybe we could co-write the appellate brief as part of LawTube and see how well that works. That'd be fun.
Well, I did ask him about that. He's not sure who is doing the appeal at the moment. He's not sure if he's going to be on it or if Paul is going to be on it or if either of them are at the moment. He doesn't know. So, but yeah, I saw some of you were doing the juror review or the juror article yesterday as well, right? Legal mindset, legal bites,
and uncivil.
Nate, uncivil. I didn't see who all was doing it. I just know that I was mad at all of you because I was doing it.
Well, don't worry, I'm doing Canadian law, so I'm not going to be stepping on your toes.
That hasn't stopped Viva.
It's not Canadian law unless you apologize 3 times first, Ian.
Right, exactly.
True.
We've actually got this wild case that I'm looking at. It's a police officer was suspected of misusing databases. And so they started an investigation where they went through every search he ever made. And then they put an undercover as his partner. They wired up his truck, both his work truck and his personal truck, for sound.
Mm-hmm.
And they had him meet this fake organized crime guy who started feeding them tips on lockers that they could raid from his rivals. And he was also an undercover cop. He was a fake. So everything going on in this cop's life is fake. And eventually they get it up to he is making a plan to rob his own locker and steals a police shotgun from the police to do it. And he was found guilty on a bunch of counts. So I'm now covering the entrapment decision.
Oh, very fun.
We've got a lot of entrapment going on here.
A lot of entrapment.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think there is a significant amount of entrapment going on, frankly. Speaking of
The tie is off.
Oh, no.
So, Bronca, I wanted to talk to you about Jackman. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, I was very excited to hear that Earl goes to Dead Horse. I stayed at Dead Horse just this year, actually, up by Sturgis.
Yeah, he's a fascinating guy. I'd love to have more chats with him because I feel like there are many hours of communication that could happen over stories. I didn't even get to like one of the most famous cases that he's worked on around Minnesota that I know of, which is the Viking party boat case. And I mean, obviously we've got a different level of impact on that type of case versus, a triple homicide, son of a police officer case. But this is one that made, statewide news very clearly an issue because it involves the Vikings, who are the golden children of Minnesota. So, but yeah, I was going to ask him about that, but I knew he only had an hour because he's working hard on the Lane case. But
You did a great job, Nick.
Oh,
Very
thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think one of my favorite parts was hearing about how both of his children are Nick Rekieta fans.
all three.
Oh,
Don't sell me short.
Excuse me. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
He did
for
his
three.
duty.
So, I mean, obviously he did a good job raising his children.
Correct.
So he's also a good father.
1 second here. Yeah, it was it's really cool to see that. I'm just happy to get the opportunity to talk about this stuff because it's so fascinating. But I maybe when the Potter thing is fully flushed out, I could talk to him about it more candidly because I have a lot of thoughts about especially in light of this jury interview.
How do you stay awake?
guarantee
is my
you-
only question. How do you literally stay awake during ASMR Judge? That's all I really want to know.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you appeal on the basis that the jury was basically under constant hypnosis? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe he rode on his motorcycle across the United States 20 times just to make sure that he could do it. You know, like if you can withstand that level of road weariness, you can probably withstand Judge Chu during
Look,
court
a
here.
couple of shots of goose goes a long way. I'll tell you. A couple of shots.
I feel like that would not help. That would maybe do the opposite.
I love also that he was super annoyed about the masks because they are infuriating.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you're trying to connect to a jury,
Yeah.
right? We talk about how we're not in the courtroom, so we don't get to see the jury's response and reactions. But in a lot of ways, neither do they, because the jurors are masked up. You can only see their eyes, and that's got to be a pain too, because you can't really get a good read. You shut your mouth, Ty. Shut your mouth.
He hasn't even said anything yet.
He's said enough. He's sitting here. Oh, look, Earl Gray's so cool. He said Jack Daniels.
He just wants to ride his hog to pick up those Tennessee honeys. That's all he wants to do.
Imagine unironically
it has to be a Harley, right?
Drinking a vodka that's more expensive than your whiskey. I mean, come on.
I'm gonna tell Earl on you. Epic interview, my friend. Epic.
It was very good.
It was good.
Very good.
Thank
Really
you.
good.
Yeah, I'm very like I thought the Lane case was going to be the state case that he was working on when he first mentioned it, and then it turns out it's a federal one. I'm very, very interested in what the plan of the federal government is to show that Thomas Lane willfully refused to provide medical aid to George Floyd when he's probably the only officer who did provide attempt to provide medical aid. King, King's the guy down by the feet. He has less opportunity to do so. And Tu Tao is on crowd control. So he doesn't have much opportunity to do so, but neither of them, to my knowledge, confronted Chauvin, but Lane actually did.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a kind of a fascinating case. Unfortunately, it's in Fed court. So,
well, they were being charged state too, were they not?
Yes, but that trial will be in March. In March, I believe.
So they're doing the Fed case first?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yep. I don't know how because it seems like you'd want to get the underlying conviction out of the way in the state level.
Yeah, that's just weird because unless I'm mistaken, the rule is whoever gets to you first wins. So state has priority over the feds because they charge them first, don't they?
I don't know. I don't
That
know.
was
If
my understanding.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an actual rule on that, but maybe he waived it, right? Maybe he chose to take the Fed case first, or what?
I think the other people involved in the Chauvin case have pretty good chances on acquittal. Their cases are not for sure. The guy who's doing crowd control, his knowledge is too remote. The other people are warning them actively at the time and the whole thing is to be an accessory, you have to intend to assist someone in the commission of a crime. And it doesn't, that intent element for them is not there. So I think for all of them, you have a pretty decent shot at acquittal.
If they were bigots, who were there clearly.
Compared to Chauvin,
racially, yes.
Maybe it's consciousness or intent. Did you consider
or
that it's or intent? Oh God, I keep going back to that Kim Potter.
No, I know. I thought you were making the joke. That's why I was trying to play along.
I am. It pisses me off because like, could you imagine the situation? It's like, no, but she needs to be conscious of the gun. It's like, but let me counter that with or intentional. And then the worst part is the juror who goes, oh yeah, good point. No, I changed my mind. Like, no, you were right the first time. How'd you get that?
It's disappointing that they'll do it first in Fed court because we might get a conviction without ever seeing anything. That's really annoying.
That's true too.
Yeah,
because I want to criticize the shit out of the prosecution's case and do the analysis. That's way more fun than Chauvin. Those three guys each of them have to be analyzed separately. Each
Mhm.
of them is in a different factual posture. Each of them has different knowledge. Each of
Right.
them has different states going through their own head. Each of them is hearing different things and seeing different things.
I wonder
So
if
you can't just, you have to actually go through the analysis, and the answers aren't obvious.
maybe that's why they want to do the federal first, is so
'Cause the
that
Fed sucks,
it's
so they'll just
outside.
ram it through.
It's outside of the public eye.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess if I'm, well, I don't know. I don't know if it matters because you're going to, like, if you win the state case, you're going to face the feds. If you win the Fed case, you're going to face the state. Well, yeah. I don't know. It's, I don't know what to do. If you're defending a cop right now in this climate, I don't know what you do, in all honesty.
Well, if you're convicted and suddenly you're testifying in your state case, that's not really helpful in your state case.
No. But I mean, same thing if you're convicted in the state case.
I'd rather
You
have the
just
other way around if it were up to me.
State first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree. The Fed case, but the Fed case just seems so thin in general. I mean, the state case seems tough, but the Fed case seems really thin, just on the theory that they have to go with deprivation of civil rights by recklessly or by willfully refusing to provide aid is
and it carries a potential life sentence for the feds because death resulted.
Yeah, and the interesting thing there is it deprivation of civil rights based on his race?
That's the presumption based on race. That's the only thing they've got, right? The only thing to make it a federal question.
I mean, technically, they could deprive. It's
242, right?
18 USC 242. Yeah, I think. Well, no, that's the civil.
No, 242 is not. That's criminal.
Yeah, 1983 is the civil. My bad.
Yeah, whoever under color of law willfully subjects anyone. So it's because they're police
Melinda
officers.
Smith alert. Or Melinda Scott alert. Weep, weep, weep. Color of law, color of law, color of law, color
What
of
did
law.
I say?
No, it's not you. It's not you.
What did it?
I'm like, this is
There's
a reference to which I am not, or with which I am not familiar.
There's a crazy lady who is a frequent pro se litigant who just yells
Ooh,
color.
those are fun.
She writes color of law all over everything, and that somehow makes things bad. Like an attorney, a private defense attorney in a civil matter requesting discovery documents is color of law, color of law. He's abusing me under color of law.
Oh boy.
Oh
my.
She's a gem. She's a gift. But okay, sorry. So who under cover of law deprives someone of civil rights?
Of rights, different punishments on account of such person being an alien or by reason of color, race, they're prescribed for. Yeah. So it looks like you have to have the racial component, which I'm not sure how you're getting there. I'm not sure how you got there for Chauvin, to be honest.
Well, he pled out, so that's how they got there for him. Made it easy. I don't know how you get the race aspect because it was never raised in the state
243.
trial. It's
242. Yeah.
In the state trial for Chauvin, I don't think they alleged anything based.
No,
on
the only
race.
time that race was ever mentioned was once during the instructions because it's part of the model instruction.
Yeah.
About not having about going to witness bias and not judging witnesses based on color was the only time color ever came up in Chauvin.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. Ty, I hate you.
You change your icon to Jack Daniels. That's good.
The
That's
boomer
awesome.
is learning. The boomer is learning how to troll on StreamYard in real time. But no, that's going to be a fascinating thing. So they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that not only did he do the elements, but that his motivation or that his purpose for doing the elements was based on race rather than just races just happening to be what they are.
Yeah, that doesn't seem possible.
Yeah.
Well, you guys clearly do not support the cause. So, I mean, clearly you guys should be, excluded from the jury because that's now a litmus test for the jury.
I don't support any cause.
I thought maybe the litmus test was, wanting to apply the law evenly without passion or prejudice.
Should be.
That's a good one. Constitution.
I'm going to have
He
to
is
send
such
you
a
back
coward.
to law school. You've been demoted to a 3L again. We need to learn about social justice on the jury. That'll be your elective that you're required to take from now on.
Required elective. Okay, that's good. Yeah, all right.
Selective jury nullification.
Well,
One-on-one.
we had it as an elective, Kurt, but people weren't taking it in the numbers that were required.
I
So
believe
we
it.
decided to require the elective. I mean, it's optional, but you have to take it.
You're being voluntold.
Yes.
I made through some mind-numbing stuff in law school. I think I can weather this.
You don't
I mean,
have-
we all have to do CLEs anyway, right?
Yeah.
Don't remind me.
You don't have to take it, but if you don't, we'll take away your license. So
CLE is the bane of my existence. They're always horrible.
yeah. Yes. No comment other than yes.
And now they added a technology element that's like run by boomers. It's like incredibly painful to listen to.
Yeah.
But see, in Minnesota, we still have to do a third of our CLEs, quote unquote, live.
Yeah.
Either in person, even if the CLE itself isn't live, they run live replays of a CLE, and it's like you have to be there at 9 o'clock when they start the live replay. Oh, and you're doing it remotely. So it's from your house or office, but you just have to be at your computer at 9 so that they can play a video at a specific time. And it's like, why this convoluted mess? Like, this is like on demand, but in the third world or whatever.
Virginia still does live. You can do remote live, but they actually are live. Your state is taking it to one more level, stupid, with the Barbary. Let's just put in the VHS tape.
But we do have live ones still, but some of the live ones are replays. So it's just, it's like, God, what a disaster.
Maybe it's just time for me to just apply to DC, give up my Virginia license, and never do CLE ever again. That'd be good.
Yeah, I'm gonna do. That's what Bronca does, right? He's wherever he's licensed, Maryland or Vermont or whatever, no CLE requirement.
Yeah,
that's the dream right there. Because people may not realize, well, depending on where you get your CLEs, Minnesota Min CLE, if you get all of your credits, it's like $1,000 a year.
I'm going to start submitting these streams for CLE credits. See how well that goes over.
Honestly, I think that would be awesome if we could. I doubt that we would get around those.
Yeah, I've got
those
the text up on
bureaucracies,
screen.
but-
I've got documents, man.
In a
CLE
lot of
Virginia all day
places,
long. Why not?
legal education counts for hours. So why not?
It'd be awesome. That really would be. But also, but if other people could use these streams as CLEs or various videos and whatnot, because it's like if ultimately what matters is people are getting educated by it, on a particular topic, and we just aren't boring them to death in the process, so they're actually able to retain the information that they're there to watch and learn. Hey, what a concept.
Here's the problem, though, guys. Does this fall under criminal law CLE or ethics CLE? Because I think it's a cautionary tale for both. Yes.
You just have to divide out the hours.
There's +1 ethics.
Well, could you imagine the syllabus from like the Kyle Kareth and Chad Reed stream? It's like, well, we have 30 minutes on nipple rubbing. It's like, oh, it's a weird section. I guess that goes into ethics or maybe elimination of bias. I think
it's a 4-hour stream, but 1 hour is legal. It's legal education.
I think Joe's
the rest is nipple rubbing.
Appendices.
I got back just in time for nipple rubbing. Perfect.
I doubt it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I do have some super chats that came in, and in the absence of Earl Gray, maybe you guys can help me answer some of them. But I was going to go ahead and read those, unless you guys have any comments prior to me doing that. I do want to make sure I get to the chat because I appreciate them and I love them. Okay, well then, the first super chat of the day, by the way, was to Super Simp Ty Beard, who is such a fangirl of Earl Gray that he sent a super chat before anybody. Oh wait, no, I'm lying. You were number 2.
Ooh.
You came in second.
Simp failure.
And let me read the first one. It's from,
I guess.
It's from Wolfgang Deo. He says, "Does one make cake with cookie or deal dough?"
I'm sorry.
I think
what
I
was the
should be
question?
given
We're not
first
gonna-
place on.
We're not gonna revisit that one.
Okay. All right.
So-
Probably better off that way.
Stuff and Stuff
move on.
sent a chat. Irish Pug says,
Of course, soup's not cereal's not soup.
Cereal is
Don't get me
soup.
started.
Oh Lord.
Irish Pug says, when will you have chamomile on? Very good question. And I don't know why I didn't read these during the interview. Angry Baneling says, coffee is greater than tea. Facts. Angry Baneling, I have really bad news for you. Coffee is tea. Is it not?
I mean, it's brewed just like tea.
Exactly.
Why is it
kind of
tea
made in a
coffee?
very similar
Why is
way?
not tea
But it's
coffee?
not leaves and
But is it
herbs.
soup? I mean,
It is.
that's
It is
the
a bean.
question.
It's a roasted bean.
It's a broth, Ty. Coffee is a broth.
Coffee is a soup.
If you pour your
Oh, no.
Cheerios into your coffee, it's a soup. That's perfect.
I don't see how the CLO people could turn this down.
Oh, and the chat has gone completely insane over the coffee is tea.
Oh, the chat was just looking for an excuse.
Stephen Cooper says, Nick, now that you have your interview with Earl Gray, can we expect your formal resignation or termination? Oh, I wanted to get into that, but there wasn't a good spot. The last two media people who have interviewed Earl Gray have both been fired from their jobs. Chris Cuomo and Piers Morgan. Are the
Oh shit!
so he did warn me. It's like I don't know
gotta
if you
look
want
up the Piers
Yeah.
Morgan one. I gotta look that one up.
yeah. So I wanted to get his stories there, but I only had an hour because those sound like funny stories. I don't know what the interviews were over, but apparently I don't think either hosts were super friendly with him in the interviews. So. I mean, not that Chris Cuomo or Piers Morgan would ever be not friendly to someone in an interview. I mean, that's very strange.
What would make you think that?
Yeah. Nernieth.
But they weren't rude to him to his face.
Nernieth says, "Get a good lawyer like a good tea." Earl Gray, hot. Jillian Seed says, "World War I when?" Nicholas Pullen says, "Big Bad Beard 1000." You better stop. That's tonight's show. That is tonight's show. Brief
here for it.
advertisement while we have 8,000 people here watching. Tonight's show is going to be an exploration, if you will, a guided tour of the downfall of Jack Murphy.
Oh no!
With one of my favorite co-hosts, Drexel.
Oh my
Will be
god!
here.
Is this
One might
strictly on
call it-
locals? Because how is
one
this
might
going to
call
be
it-
monetizable on YouTube? How is it going to survive YouTube?
I don't know that it will, but we will try very hard.
Woo!
So
One might call it the cuckening, if you will.
Oh my goodness!
could be.
Oh
Things-
my goodness!
We will go to dark places, but we will probably discover
Will be
things
the
that have been to
greatest-
darker places on the stream.
This may be the
you will.
greatest 24 hours of YouTubing you'll have ever done.
It's going to be a disaster.
Before your
Earl
channel is
has been-
banned, it's been nice.
Yeah, well. Okay, Angel of Sin says, unrelated, thank God. But I'm only going to do this one time. Not asking for a handout, just a fair shot. My roommate is trying to be a streamer, doesn't have any prior following, and if this helps him get a launch, I'll try it. The name is _Gray on Twitch. The name is all one word. The name is _Gray.
With an E or an A.
He said paid 1 month rent so he can try. Good luck.
Gray with an E or
Gray
an A.
with an A.
Take your swings.
Take your
I got
swing.
it.
So you guys, if you want to check him out on Twitch, give it a shot.
You know, Bronca is like Brad Pitt on Ocean's 11. Have you ever noticed? He's always eating something.
God, wish
There
I
are
would.
probably other similarities too.
So this is Rob Dorr says I went to skills with Lane. So that's police training. Good man. His charges are a big reason I left law enforcement for law school. He tried to put Floyd into the recovery position and worked on him in the ambulance. Such a shame. Such a shame. But Rob Dorr, have you considered though that there were people who watched what happened to George Floyd on TV and got mad about it? Did you consider that? I don't know if you did when you made that super chat. So I just want to make sure. Makeup Queen says, Earl, thank you for taking these cases. Praying Kim's sentence can be light, maybe probation or mistrial due to jury instructions. This trial was politically motivated. Not going to get probation on this one. Probably. I mean, they're going to make the motion for the downward departure, but I don't think the judge is going to bite on that. Kevin W says, I would pitch in if the defense crowdfunds the appeal. Just an FYI. Well, we'll see. I have no idea. I can maybe ask Earl about that, but I don't know if he's even going to be on it. Spence says, read me a bedtime story, Mr. Gray. Evil Bunny says, full Gray family conversion at Ricada Law. Good grifting. Oh, and Bunny. Sundrop Puddleton says, thank you, Mr. Gray. I appreciate it and enjoyed watching your team's skilled defense and commitment to your client. You never understand the value of a good defense attorney until you need one beside you. Kurt. I was like, what the heck?
Bye, Kurt.
Bye, Kurt. SF says, there's no reason we can't move all high-profile cases to Camp Ripley, where everyone can be sequestered, housing, medical, security, food, all in one. The sequestration thing is complicated because in a lovely, insane world, it would seem fine. But could you imagine being sequestered for 3 weeks leading up to Christmas? I mean, that's a tough sell. Their civil rights are infringed by the state in sequestration. And I think that's why we don't do it anymore as much, is because they have to balance the interest of the state in a fair and impartial jury with the civil rights of the jurors.
You don't want to make jurors too desperate to not be on jury duty, because otherwise what you get is just the people who were not clever enough to figure out a way not to be on jury duty. And I mean, there's already some of that, but you really don't want it to be the primary feature of how you choose a jury.
Like that one poor juror who I feel less bad about, who completely ruined her finals schedule. Can you reschedule your finals? No. Well, but do you think it'd be a burden for you to be on this jury?
Yes.
No. She didn't say yes. She said
wow.
no. So she got stuck on the jury during finals week and presumably missed them because she was in the court. So
I don't know. I can't imagine. I can't imagine a professor being like, no, I'm sorry, you have to sit for this final or you're failing your class. I can't imagine. I mean, but I can't imagine that. I mean, I take that back. I can't imagine that affirmatively. So, but how ridiculous would that be?
I couldn't imagine it, but I also couldn't have imagined a judge not just saying, "Oh, you've got finals that you can't reschedule right in the middle of this trial," and just saying, "Yeah, you're dismissed. That's okay. Okay, well, thank you for coming. We can have someone else fill your spot."
Yeah. That's pretty surprising to me that they kept her on the jury with that schedule, because I have seen before where a college student was trying to get out of jury duty, and they had been repeatedly like trying to get out of it, and the judge was like, you keep giving us the same excuse. Now it's summer vacation. What other excuse do you have? And she's like, summer school or something like that. And it was a lame ass excuse. But this one, like, it's pretty reasonable to say if she's in college, everybody knows at the end of, December or in December, you've got finals, generally speaking. Well,
we know she wasn't pre-law. That's all we know.
Skeleton says, Mr. Gray, thank you for being on. Question for you. You've probably been asked a lot. Favorite types of tea? Are you more of a coffee kind of guy? Peter says, can you speak generally on buffet style closings where jurors can pick the reasonable doubt they believe most versus highly directed closings where you can guide the jury into a narrative? Oh, that was a good question. That sounds like an Andrew Bronca question. I think, did you threaten Peter and make him send that? Horsehead says, Earl, you did your best. Mad respect. Cheers to you. Nick, can we get a shirt with Earl's expression during objections, please? I love every time he was objected to. How dare they? DD says, in the court of public opinion, Mr. Earl Gray is a winner. Vlad Dracul says, thank you for opening my eyes to the legal system. Hey, you're welcome. That was for me, not Earl, I'm betting. Robin Sage says, please thank him for zealously defending his client. It was greatly appreciated and noticed versus the Rittenhouse counsel. That's whatever Mark Richards and Sharafi, felt. I felt a little more warmth from Sharafi than Richards in the courtroom, But I think it was night and day with the expression of care from this defense team. I mean, and you could see how Earl feels about the conviction. I mean, it's eating away at him, right? And it does. That
He's a good lawyer.
Zachary Carter says, missed opportunity to call this spilling the tea with Earl Gray. Thank you for vigorously defending your client before and even after the verdict. You're a great example for the profession. Warrior Biatch says, Nick, Earl needs his own show. Stories with Earl. Boom, boom, boom. Not applicable says the literal gay defense. This needs to be a movie. That was magic.
That was quite a story. I mean, even just starting with, he was a what was it, like an Iranian New York Jew. Like that already was. Right?
That was the other story.
Oh, that's a different story. Oh, I'm sorry. I was paying attention, sort of.
Yeah, the Iranian.
I guess he has a lot of interesting stories, I should say.
He does, and they were both entrapment stories. But
okay.
Yeah, the Iranian New York Jew one was the prior one that involved the illegal Greek violent madman.
Okay.
and the $500 kidnap for hire. Well, he did say it was an installment payment. He just I'm gonna put some money down in this kidnapping. See you next month. So no, this one was it was a guy who owned a bar who happened to be gay, and they sent like the prettiest male FBI agent they could to go get him to start buying cocaine.
They honeypotted him with or rather, I guess it's Honey Dick. Sorry, I guess it's Honey Dick for sure. Right?
Honeycombed, honeysuckled. I don't know.
That's commitment to your job, though.
Yeah. Look, Johnson. Yes. I saw you at the beach the other day.
Special Agent Johnson and
Johnson
Johnson
in the Die Hard movie.
I saw you at the beach the other day at the company outing. I've got an assignment for you. IBL 33WJ3TLI says Earl filled Judge Fang Fang sushi with gray matter. Gross. Very gross. S. Asp says Nick just made a friend for life. Gotta love it. Crits Cake says, damn it, Nick, we lost the case again. Earl Gray. Janet Morgan says, the John DeLorean defense. DeLorean. C. Goody says, can I pay his hourly rate for another interview? I don't know if you want to.
It's going to be a bit expensive.
Huggy Bar says, thank you for the fun show. Spence says, gift Mr. Gray your channel knows. No. Brian Alleman says, can we get Earl Gray's reaction to hetero flexible? No. Nope. More Havoc says, Hart Earl, hope you can bring him on again. Pastor Flash says, now you need to get Cole Gray on to get the real inside dirt on Earl. Well, maybe if he's interested, I can reach out for sure. Rabid One says, is Andrew going to be on tonight's spicy stream? I think it's going to be just me and Drexel for that one. I don't want to ruin anybody else's life.
Those late night streams are killers, man. I have a normal life schedule.
This one's going to be soul killing, along with the sleep.
I don't think I could be paid to be on that one, to be honest.
Try me. What's your price, please?
So Nick, a client sent me a link to Jeremy to the quartering where he excerpted our conversation on Christmas Eve about Murphy.
I
saw you on YouTube. I was like, great.
On my stream, I got all of Jeremy's posts before they were taken down. So all of that, the water sports. If you want to see it, go to my channel. It is triple demonetized. So
I don't know that. People are saying that Jeremy deleted the tweets. I don't know that he did. I think they might have gotten
taken down
because I know he ate a suspension from Twitter. So the Jack Army was out in force flagging everything. Padawan Grifter says, now I need to look for Mr. Earl Gray the next time he comes out to Deadwood and Sturgis and buy him a drink since I only live 25 miles from there. Logan Orr says, everyone's talking about Matt from Tinder. No one talks about Mr. Dick and Balls for making the original Jack Murphy super chat. Oh, right. Yeah.
How interesting would it be to be that person? Like, whoops.
Matt,
And
What
she
did I
just
start?
read it, you know. It was just she read it, you know.
Yeah. How is your screen name on YouTube, Mr. Dick and Balls?
I don't know.
New dislike button says, I asked on Twitch yesterday, ask the panel, please. How does someone even suggest to perform a woman's grape fantasy and not make it completely awkward? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
You're not getting legal advice on that one.
Nope.
Again,
Nope.
that's a question for tonight's stream. You
How
can
about
ask
the
Drexel.
Cowboys?
Malik 1013 says, great interview. I heard that after the trial, Earl was charged with 2 attempts of murder of the prosecution's careers. The charges were dropped because Earl Gray doesn't attempt anything. Blake Pritchard says, AG Keith Ellison admitted in an interview that there was zero evidence of Chauvin being a racist or holding racial animus towards George Floyd. Charles Vance says, how can you be charged for the same crime in both state and federal courts without violating double jeopardy laws? They're different crimes, actually. That's the trick. So the state crimes against Thomas Lane would be basically an accessory to the crimes that George Floyd or that Derek Chauvin was convicted of: 2nd-degree murder, 3rd-degree murder, 1st-degree manslaughter. So he'd be charged as an accessory for those things. In federal court, it's a deprivation of civil rights, and then that results in death is that's an enhancement of the underlying statute. You can deprive someone civil rights and have them not die. And that actually happens with relative frequency. But so that's how they're different elements, different charges. Jack Hudler says, had Chauvin never showed up, George Floyd would still be dead and no amount of medical intervention would have saved him. Some people do believe that. Other people do not. So Mortimer Brewster says, murder case coming up. Deontay Raziels in Florida. The first jury was hung because a few didn't want to convict a black guy. New trial in January. That's the one where they pulled the jury after the conviction, and the jury said, no, we actually don't agree. So very dramatic. Tall Skinny Geek says, are you saying a bunch of lawyers created a CLE system that is needlessly complex? I literally do not believe you.
No, not needlessly complex. Needlessly boring.
It's also
yeah,
needlessly.
It's a little both.
Well, I get. Oh, well, if we're talking about the process of getting a CLE certified, probably.
Oh yeah. Well, I think the process of taking CLEs is a pain too, but I don't know. I find it weird to think that lawyers who are practicing are in need of continuing education outside of their practice is continuing education. Like every case you take, you have to read up on, you're doing hours of research in some way. And then you're doing hours of practice. Like what continuing education is actually necessary there? I don't know.
And then you take the CLE of first convenience. So, you're practicing criminal law and all of a sudden you're taking a family law CLE. And then, you've got, somebody talking to you about dog law or bird law. I mean, it goes into ridiculousness.
Yeah. I pick my CLE schedule literally based on the schedule. Like the subjects are relatively irrelevant to me. It's like, I mean, there are things I'd like to learn. Those CLEs aren't always offered. And then other things like, well, I have a Tuesday at 7:30. That's not true. I'm never awake at 7:30. Okay. Hiker John says they put menus on cell phones now. For the restaurants.
Yeah.
Evil Bunny says, you claim you love us, but you never call the day after and you make us buy our own dinners. And more bunny. Fair Frozen 55 says,
Uh-oh.
Wow.
that's
Read
fine.
it. Read it.
I am. I have to
Read
do
it.
it. I have to do it in Kermit voice, and I have to
Oh boy.
compose myself to do that. Jack Murphy came first. Ty came second.
Oh.
So there you go.
Oh, that was a
Now-
delayed burn.
I hope that was
That
a
was
lot
a
of
delayed
money.
burn.
That was harsh.
It depends on your perspective of a lot. How poor is the hypothetical me in this situation? Malik 1013 says, given the Kim Potter trial, the Chauvin trial, and Nick's opinions, is being wrong a Minnesota thing? I was right on Chauvin. I thought that guy was going to get convicted, but That's okay. 200 Watt Studio says, what time is your probing of Murphy tonight? 11 p.m. Central. Kakalo Tuzaru says, sorry to ask in case it's been asked before, but since Ty is here, I want to take the chance. I'm curious as to know how the appeal for Vic is going, since I personally haven't heard anything in a while.
Neither have we.
It's entirely at the mercy of the court and the court's pleasure of when they will make that ruling. There is no, they have a guideline. The guideline would have said September 22nd of 2021, but that there is no one to enforce rules on the Court of Appeals. Like there.
Well, and it's hard to overstate just how badly Texas courts anyway were disrupted by COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, everything got knocked a year and a half down the road at least. So.
Fire Fuchs says you should show all your deacons and pastors the cucking of Jack Murphy. I don't know if that's a good idea. Great US
a lot
says,
of other things I'd want to do than
that. Great US says, since you appeared to be starstruck by Gray, you might have overlooked / missed that he had more time to talk than you assume because he asked if you have time. I'll let you get back to work. And one other comment implying he had more time. He and I talked about it prior, and he stayed longer than he had agreed to already. And I wanted to respect his time because he's got a very, very large case that he's working on. It's the Thomas Lane case, and it's coming up on the 20th, which sounds far away, but that's not that far away.
That's like tomorrow.
Yeah. So I might have been able to twist his arm and keep him here, but I was happy to let him get back to work. Zach Anderson says, Ty, I was going back and watching Nick's streams of the depositions in the Vic case, still trying to figure out how you put up with Toye for that long.
I'm a professional.
Fenrir Lycros says, made myself a bar on my patio. You know, it will not be in there. Jack, send a bottle of Angel's Envy or 12-year Whistle Pig to Earl. Well, I was going to bring him a nice bottle of whiskey, but instead now I have to bring him some Grey Goose. I think.
That kid from Minnesota, what is this shit?
Tom sent 3 messages with no message, so thank you for that. I think YouTube probably censored you. CW says Illegal Greek Violent Madman is the name of my acid bluegrass fusion band. Dragon's Treasure says I just got to the coffee is tea part, you uncultured troglodytes. Tea requires Camelina sinensis. Coffee isn't even a leaf. Make this mistake again, I'm sending all your children drum kits.
I think the only way to know that for sure is to obviously sample their teas, and the only way to really do that, because we have our YouTube channels, is to get it for free. Am I right? Am I right, guys? Free tea, right? Am I the only one here? Okay, I'll see myself out.
We dispense the tea.
If you're gonna buy tea, you should get it from Dragon's Treasure, the Dragon's Treasure tea.
There you go.
Let's see. Oh no. Great US says, FYI, Don Lemon trial now in March after the jury trial has been approved, but it's still federal and no stream. So Don Lemon's trial will be federal. What is he charged with?
Don Lemon? The Don?
Oh, no. Don Lemon?
Assault?
Yes. Oh, no. He's charged with touching somebody inappropriately at a bar. Like, that was the whole. I mean, once again, it goes hand in hand with all the CNN depravity, right? Yeah. And I covered that today. I mean, they're just a basket of sexual deplorables.
Well, they project.
Yep.
Here's the
that's great for monetization, right? Those kinds of issues.
They're better about it these days. You have to carefully navigate some of the wording, but it used to be if you said the word child near the word abuse, for example, like those two, even this sentence, that alone would demonetize an entire show. But YouTube is better about it now. They're a little more reasonable. Loreddit Silver member says, if we could find footage of Earl doing the cross exam on the hide and seek case where he got the kids to admit they were lying, would you be interested in EFAPing it? I'm trying to see if it was on TV. I cannot imagine that
was a 1950s case.
No. It was that was incorrect. It would have been 84.
Oh, I thought he said 1950.
He said 54, but his son in the chat said it was either 83 or 84.
So it was during the McMartin hysteria and all that.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
it might have been televised somewhere. I don't know that it would be available anywhere, but I think it'd be hard to find. When he said 1954, I was like, there's no way this was 1954 because that was 70 years ago, which would have meant that you're 120. Not really, but
Well, you did read, didn't you, Nick, that Earl Gray argued with the devil until dawn and saved his client's life.
yes. Rady 2 Kill says, joke of the day stolen from the internet. Even people who are good for nothing have the capacity to bring a smile to your face. For instance, when you push them down the stairs.
Jeez.
Little violent, I think.
Just a little bit.
Stephen Nelson says,
Happy New
thank you. Thank you for the mental images legal mindset. I was about to take a drink of my tea.
You're welcome. I'm always here to provide.
Tim Ryan says, can you invite Earl to be a part of the panel on your next trial, provided he has time? Well, I have a feeling he wouldn't have time, but I could certainly reach out. But I think, again, the guy seems pretty busy to me.
I could listen to his war stories all day long.
I think he could tell them all day long. He's got a boatload of them, a boat full of Minnesota Vikings and maybe young. Never mind. New dislike button says, I think that came off as though I was the one asking. I meant, how does the woman ask? Just wanted to clarify. I'm not a creep. Well, that was the question about I guess the question is, how does a woman ask about fulfilling a certain type of kink that we talked about earlier?
An ick fantasy. Got it. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know the answers.
I don't know.
2D Harem King Jack says, take a look at Twitter, Nick. There's a little something Drex might find appealing. Also, nice interview. A look, nipple rubs for Bronca. So, okay. Gross.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Mandy Karavichus says,
hey, you got it pretty right.
Almost,
pretty close. Pretty dang close. About as close as you're probably going to get.
Yeah, that's about as close as I'm
Karavichus. That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
So anyways, says, hello, Nick, Alita, Runkle, Ty, Andrew, and Andrew number 2. I love you. Phoenix Lord Asterman says, sorry to hear about the court setback, Runkle of Ulthawan, but you seem to be handling it well. Hopefully things will turn out for the best soon.
Yeah, that's me fighting the government, and they've got this really interesting argument that has never been made before. But they're trying to pretend that this is how the law works and how it's always been done, notwithstanding the fact that, again, they've never been able to show any prior case where this has happened. But essentially the argument is that if the court ends up agreeing with them, it'll really undermine the ability of both firearm owners to challenge the government, but also this would do tremendous damage to administrative law generally. So it's they're using gun owners to potentially screw up the law in a way that gives the government a huge amount more power. So I'm fighting them as best I can.
That doesn't sound like Canada at all.
The government of Canada taking power?
Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe, but
yeah. Great US says, from Ravensy, Nick, don't you have to pee? No, I don't. Not right now. I will soon, I'm sure.
Congratulations.
Camel size water.
The other day, so I got a lot of nonsense talk from the chat because during these like 8-hour streams, I would have to go to the bathroom maybe twice. They're like, oh, look at this guy with a bladder the size of a marble or whatever.
Grandpa.
And then I do a 10-hour stream, 0 bathroom breaks, none. And they're like, they didn't even notice. I think they didn't do any.
You did pre-install the bottle underneath the desk, though.
5-gallon bucket.
No, I just peed all over the floor.
That's an alpha move that I bet Earl Gray would do, like in a pinch, you know.
Well, I'm gonna wear a mask. Jonathan Duger says civil rights are dumb. Rights don't need a qualifier. We live in a society with nerfed edges. I hope a meteor resets civilization. Stogies and Boomstick says free chat. Thanks to the whole panel for content. Hey, thank you. DCV Titan says disappointed, no chaos god and balls questions. Hey, no one won. I wasn't reading super chats during the interview, but no one sent them in anyway.
It'd be hysterical if the chaos god question came in and goes, blood for the blood god.
Like, it said clearly Papa Nurgle. Brendan Coleman, welcome to Lawyer Status. 200-watt Studio says, what time did you say your inside examination of Murphy was? 11 p.m. Central. M says, following since Wisconsin versus Rittenhouse, consider career change to law because of all. Considering career change to law because of you all. Any advice from the panel? Also, we need a shirt.
Run while you can.
We need a shirt that says Havoc, please. I
have a shirt that says Havoc. I've had one for a while.
I have a different one. Okay. And I've been lazy putting that up.
Well, mine is already up, so if you want it, you can come and get it.
The dueling grifts here is so hilarious. I love it. I'm here for it. Thank you. Yes, I've been.
What's going on?
No, so my advice is simple. If you want to get into law to practice law, go do it. Don't let anybody stop you. If you want to get into law for any other reason, like to make money or to learn something about the law, don't go to law school for any of that. Don't do that. That's a lot of money and time that you are not going to. It would be better spent if you're just trying to make money. There are other ways to do that. And 3 years and $150,000 of investment will actually probably, like, you could put that into school or literally anything and probably come out more profitable. Like buy a house and rent it out or something, and then buy another one and then do it more. Become a slumlord. Try being a slumlord. That's a good way to make money. But yeah, no, if you want to learn, if you want to practice law, go to law school. Like that's great. Amateur Ant says, can John Goldman sue Jack Murphy for sexual assault? How about that for a lawsuit? Maybe. Deep Surface says, hey, Andrew, Boulder is on fire. Stay safe.
Okay, I guess they're talking to me. Boulder's an hour away, but not
if
sure
the
I
wind
missed
is
it, to tell you the
strong,
truth, but
if the wind, do they mean because of like a riot? On fire, I wonder.
No, it's probably just a forest fire.
Oh, okay.
They had one in Lakewood just south of Boulder last week, then probably one in Boulder now. I tell you, the winds out here and where I am in Castle Rock are absolutely vicious right now. Every window in the house is rattling.
Okay. Timothy Reaper says, statistically speaking, everyone in the world has one testicle. Okay. Dang censor bot. Oh, yes, I guess on average. Tom says Drex rocks. Earl Gray also. Wisconsin Jackhole says, love the stream, laughing while I'm working. Parahelion says, since Ty is here, I love how you always start talking about Dune, but pronounce the name like Doom. Most of your superlatives fit both. Nicole Slavinsky says, Mark Richards wreaking havoc on the English language. Wolfgang, look, I'm still eating that chocolate that someone sent me. It's taking me a long time to get through it. Wolfgang Deo says, I like when Jack Murphy goes on interviews. It gives me more time alone with his wife. Matt.
Ouch.
By the way, let's be clear. It was Matt from Grindr, not Tinder. Let's be clear.
Oh, no, come on. Heteroflexible. 200-watt Studio says, just so I'm clear, 1 p.m. is the Murphy analysis. No, that'll be 11 p.m. Central. Now you got me confused. 11 p.m. Central.
If only Murphy had listened to my advice and not bleeped with you.
Well, it's not even me. I didn't do it. The thing that killed him was him. He just couldn't stop, and he still can't stop. I mean, now he's talking about going to war with the quartering and Sidney Watson, Elijah Schaffer. I do plan to do a follow-up video, how not to PR, right? And just go through this whole incident and like lay out a timeline of his response and show exactly like how in a social media age, as as we all have social media followings, you learn really quickly like the mistakes that can be made and how you avoid doing those. And the way you learn is by watching people immolate online.
And that's why it's also always great to have, I mean, whether this is on social media or like with your family or with friends or whatever, anytime you get into, you know, some kind of a fight with somebody, it's always good to have that, at least that one person that, you know, can kind of like hold the back of your shirt to prevent you from digging further into the problem and making things worse. Like trying to find that one person in your life, whether it's a spouse, a best friend, whoever, just to have that person that can kind of hold you back and say like, hold on, let's cool off here before things get much worse. This is an example of that.
And I think, you know, someone in Jack's position where he's running this group where he's like a leader, right? That's harder and harder to find because you're like, no, I'm the one making the decisions. I'm the one building this thing. I'm the one doing this. You need that person though to say, but maybe if you just didn't do what you're about to do for a second and we talk this out first and come up with an action plan, that might help, but maybe not. I mean, some people wake up and choose violence. Ashton Upton says, Nick, what happened to Legal Briefs merch? I'm just slow at moving through all of this stuff. Let's see. Chris Friday says, when you hear nipple rubbing, you have to ask, is that the Texas shooting or Jack Murphy? E Honda 420 says, hey, Nick, E Honda 420 on YouTube. I do a weekly conspiracy podcast called The Gay Frog Chat. Grifting the Grifter. Love the show, man. I often use your show to inform mine. Hey, cool, man. Thank you. Principled Potato says, hearing some of Mr. Gray's trial war stories, does anyone on the panel have any good trial war stories that they would like to share?
Just generally speaking,
I don't know.
I mean, I
just
will
read
say
the questions here.
I have a lot of litigation experience. I have much smaller amounts of actual trial experience. For me, I was almost one of the two main lawyers on a particular trial, and we got literally as far as me bringing up the 20 bankers boxes into the courtroom, and then the partner turns to me and he says, hey, guess what? You know how our client didn't want to settle this entire time? Well, now they want to settle. And then we spent the entire day in basically mediation back at our offices. And I ended up with a fantastic migraine.
Yes.
But at least we settled.
Lovely. Yeah, that's I have not taken any cases to trial. All of mine have been either dealt with at pretrial or settled out. That's I think becoming an increasingly common experience for lawyers. But that being said,
especially if you're not in criminal law, right? So in criminal law, those are the ones that typically get prioritized in terms of going to trial. But in civil law, judges are usually trying to push you towards alternative dispute resolution, right? Like mediation, just general settlement discussions. Like they're always trying to say like, hey, have you guys talked about settling it? Have you talked about settling it? And so the vast majority of cases settle.
And then they schedule your trial 2 years out. And your client's like, well, maybe I should think about settling because
I'm going to pay out the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, I mean, I have some fun stories too, but I don't know if I want to tell them right now because it's getting to be towards the end of the show. We're almost done with the super chats, and yeah, I need to get some hearty food in me before tonight.
Lots of protein, Nick. Lots of protein.
Yes, it's pure protein, by the way.
Stop it.
Quit that.
None of that. Why am I getting a phone call from Texas right now?
Because
for good reason. My phone's in front of me.
It's the nipple rubbing. That's what it is.
That's true. Kyle Garrett's like, I heard about nipple rubbing. I have experience in this field. Phoenix Lord Asterman says, Ty, tell me everything you know about the Freeman. Do not.
How do you pronounce it though, Ty? Do you pronounce it Freeman or Freeman?
Or is it Fremen?
Now, Nick, you're starting this. It's Fremen.
It's the Fremenal order. Would it be the Fremenal order?
Fremen on the land?
The Zinsuni wanderers left the earth and we're enslaved on numerous planets
Oh,
throughout the
no.
galaxy. Yeah, I could go for hours if you really want to push
Yeah,
this.
200 Watt Studio says, is Binger part of the liminal order? I don't know. Jamie Moodley says, what about the Color of Law adult coloring book? I am working on that actually. I've got an artist.
Are you serious? Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
cool.
have a phenomenal line artist to do this coloring book. We just have to figure out how long it will take to get the number of pages that we want. But yeah, I mean, I had, great ideas like the steps of a DUI. And so you've got like a nystagmus test, the walking the line, all these little Color of Law coloring books or coloring pages for adults. But yeah, no, it's great. And I think when people see the art, they'll be like, oh, this is actually kind of serious. It's not like a kid's one, right? With the just crappy little. Anyway, never mind. Zaloarg says, hi from Argentina. Well, hi back to Argentina. Selrin says, if you play Dungeons and Dragons but don't know what is good and what is bad, I edit for a channel called the D&D Logs on YouTube where we do D&D top 10s. Luttrell says, can you ask Legal Mindset to explain the cuck article?
Please see my video. Just check it out. It is all there. The cuckening part 1. This is, Nyx is the cuckening part 2. The great demonization.
Yes.
You said it's triple demonetized, so every time somebody watches it, YouTube actually takes money away from you. Is that
Yes.
Everybody take his pennies. Take them. Take them. No, with the D&D thing, Selrin, I only know one thing. I have played my favorite D&D character was Syl Blinton. He was a warlock who was pledged to the Archlich Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And we did come across a pack of kobolds, and kobolds, as we know, are troubled youths, and he had to implement lots of social programs to help the kobolds through, just as Syl Blinton would have done back in the 90s.
Did you catch any of our Christmas Day, our Christmas stream?
I did not.
How Orcus stole Christmas.
Oh, I bet that was funny.
It really was pretty good.
Willful Monkey says, do you think Binger has a fluffing class on the liminal order site? Stop. Zaloarg says, YouTube censors my super chats if I speak about Don Lemon's antics. And Blake Pritchard says, Runkle, where do you see the future of Canadian gun rights going in general? Also, is there any way to get medical exemption to vaccines in Canada?
The exemptions thing is outside of my area because I just do criminal and firearms. Ultimately, it'll really come down to if Canadians grow a backbone on the firearm stuff, which, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of faith in, but it's weird. I mean, the Liberal Party is alienating some people with their gun push, but it's Canada's really run by essentially a few cities, and there's a lot of like urban people who have no use for guns telling rural folks, oh yeah, you guys don't need a gun, and they have no clue. It'll be interesting to see how it develops, but I don't have a whole lot of faith that they're not going to push things a lot further than they have.
Right. What about the did you answer the medical exemption to vaccines?
Yeah, that's not, I mean, the problem is that we've got a whole bunch of different provinces, so each of them have their different rules, but it's also typically employment law stuff, which I don't know, and I didn't even take employment law in law school, so it's kind of usually outside my area.
That's probably the right choice anyway. Andrew War Snowboard says, why does the castle in Symphony of the Night turn upside down? The designer who came up with that deserves the gas. Because it just does at one point. You got to deal with it. Do the upside down castle, bigot. What's wrong with you? Along with that, that's the end of super chats. To the panel, everybody watching, the panel are all linked in the description. You should check out each of their channels, and congratulations to Ty for getting your name searchable on YouTube now. So I can actually just you can easily just click on Beard and Harris Law. There in the description.
I did that myself, Nick.
Well, let me
really?
give you that follow right
No,
now.
God, no.
Oh.
I asked Brianna to do it. She did.
I was going to be proud of you, and now I'm not.
No, well, I changed the habits of a lifetime.
But yeah. So does anybody have anything they want to say or promote or plug or do before we sign off here?
Just go and check us all out.
Yeah.
Congratulations on a really good show.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, this was a great
Getting
interview.
Earl was a coup. It really was.
Because it's a little bit ahead, guys. Happy New Year's Eve. Enjoy your New Year's responsibly. And, well, I think 2022, especially with everything we've had going on and we'll have going on, is set up to be even more interesting than 2021.
It's only New Year's Eve for you, brother. We're still
That's the only person I care about, Nick.
we're still the night before. Remember, we're still in the 30th.
Hey, while I have you guys on, I do have my class coming up, Law Self-Defense Advanced class, Saturday, January 8th. If any of you lawyers in the panel would like to attend, I've just put my email address in the private chat.
Yes.
Just send me an email with your name and your email address. That's what I need to get you registered.
Awesome.
And we can get you signed up for the class.
Nice.
If you're interested. So
We'll look
I
forward
have
to
failed
it.
to deliver that message. My bad.
Hey, Nick.
no worries. For all of you who are not lawyers in the panel, you can also attend the class, but you'll have to pay to attend. You can learn more about that at lawselfdefense.com/advanced.
Perfect. Well,
Dirty Jobs is coming back in early January.
Oh, no
Is it?
kidding.
Early evidence that 2022 might not suck as bad as 2020 and 2021. Just maybe.
Well,
I'm a
there
big
you go.
fan.
I mean, also, if we're talking about like TV shows and stuff that'll be coming out, I'm excited for Cobra Kai personally.
Yes.
Cobra Kai's a good show.
That is a good show. I'm very excited.
You
Anyhow,
think Terry Silver's coming back?
Oh, it is. By the way, is
Maybe.
The Witcher season 2 woke or not woke?
I don't know yet. I've only watched the first 2 episodes. So far, they seem fine.
Okay.
I heard that there was because the first Witcher was not in line with the video games, but that had to do with licensing issues.
Sorry, it's really loud.
And so I heard they came to an agreement with CD Projekt Red, and so now there's more video game influence in the second season. So like I said, I'm only 2 episodes in, but it's a lot of people really are still mad about what they did to Tiss or whatever her name is. Yeah, they're really mad about that because that was their favorite waifu, and now she's different.
You can't get involved in the waifu wars. Everyone loses. It's always a Pyrrhic victory at best.
Yeah, exactly. Just appreciate the waifus that exist.
And buy the body pillows. That's all you got to do.
It reminds me of the Turks. The Ottoman Turks had a saying that goes back.
Not the young
centuries.
Turks. Not Schenk.
Your Chink
The old
body
ones.
pillow tie.
No.
That's
The-
a big
the
body
actual-
pillow. I want one.
The actual ones for centuries had a saying: "Do not involve yourself in the affairs of the Arabs," because they had conquered the whole Middle East and were trying to control that territory, and they were just like, don't get involved.
Okay, let's see. Oh, a couple more came in.
I love it.
Chunk.
Chunk yogurt.
Chunk
Uh,
yogurt.
Spence says, "How strong is castle doctrine in the states?" Well, I mean,
Depends what state
Depends
you're in.
on which state.
yeah.
Well, it depends on the proper understanding of the castle doctrine. I mean, properly understood, it merely means if you would have had a legal duty to retreat outside your home, you're relieved of that duty inside your home. It does come in different flavors, though. I mean, what counts as the home varies by state. So does it have to be within the 4 walls, or can it include curtilage, for example, or detached structures like a detached garage or a barn? It can vary in who it applies to. So it always applies to a genuine intruder. So you're relieved of a duty to retreat from a genuine intruder, but maybe not from a co-dweller, maybe not from an invited guest. That varies by state. And it varies by who can claim it. So you can always claim it in your own castle, of course. But what if you're a guest in someone else's castle? So some states say, well, you're still in a castle. You can claim it just as if you were in your own home. Others say, no, your castle doctrine privileges apply to you in your castle, but not when you're in someone else's castle. So those are the various flavors of castle doctrine under U.S. law.
The political leanings of your local district attorney might be highly relevant too.
Yeah, I really look at that separately. So first there's the law. We see how the law works, and then we consider, the political dynamics layered on top of that.
Right. Yeah, that's and that's something you can guess at, but you can't predict. Stephen Cooper says, "I want to see Legal Bites and Viva go over the Jack Murphy stuff."
Nope.
Sealy Star says, "Thanks for the awesome interview. Maybe I will see you at Bronca's class." Oh my goodness, what is this? Seriously now?
Well,
He just woke up.
He's here to talk about the agenda that clearly needs to be talked about. It's untalked about right now.
I'm here. I'm like a coffee table book. I'm like a piece that gets put on a coffee table that people just, what's that term for it? People look at it and they just like, what the hell is that? That's apparently why I joined this stream, just for that. I'm the piñata for you all to smack at.
I had just read the last super chat, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna end the show, and then you popped in as I finished the sentence.
Nice.
So
all right. Great show, everyone.
Did you have
Got time to
anything
grift.
you wanted to talk about before I'm gonna end it pretty soon, but
No. I was just, any of you heard the Ghislaine Maxwell verdict came out yesterday, so, but that you guys probably all covered that already.
no, I told everybody to watch your show. I haven't covered a minute.
I
of it.
saw that. I want to thank you and Andrew. I was watching you guys last night. Nick, you've been killing it this week on your night streams. I can't talk about your day streams, but I don't watch that stuff. But your night streams, and then you keep having Andrew on. I did want to ask you one question about the Burlington coat thing that I don't understand. That you guys, and Andrew here was defending the cops. Nate was saying this is proper procedure. I actually threw out a super chat that never got read on Nick's on Nick's thing.
Shots
Yeah,
fired.
yesterday.
No. I guarantee
Really?
you I read
What was
your
my super chat yesterday?
I
Fine.
don't know. You want me to find it?
Do you remember me? Do you remember me asking a super chat yesterday? Do you remember me asking a super
You
chat?
should
Did
be
say, "Oh, good
memorizing
laundry"?
these, Nick.
No, I'm
Memorize
not
every
saying-
super chat.
No, I don't remember this morning.
Do you remember that it happened that I super chatted you yesterday? It's the first
You
time
sound
I ever
like-
super chatted you.
You sound like his ex-girlfriend
It was
right
my
now.
fault.
Joe. It's like
I was
like a bad
popping my-
marriage.
I was
going on,
popping my Nick super chat cherry. And
No, I did read this
Ooh.
one. I did
Oh.
read this one. It says there is no duty on police to issue a clear
It was
command
supposed
that
to be a
everybody.
question mark after that. Why is there no duty on them to issue a clear command? That was my
No,
question.
That-
Was
No,
there-
I mean there may be a departmental policy to issue a command if it can be done consistent with safety and the circumstances allow and such, but it's not a legal requirement that's required before use of force is justified.
and I was like, okay, look, I would think that such a thing should be out there, but if that's not the policy, because I came out the night before saying, out of zone of danger, nothing here. This, the victim is not in the zone of danger. He's holding nothing but a bike lock. I don't understand how
But that's not what it doesn't matter what he's actually holding. What matters is what the officer reasonably perceived him
Right.
to be holding, and they're responding to an active shooter with a gun call. He's got a black object in his hand. It's a split-second decision.
No, I understand that. I
And
understand.
if you believe that the suspect has a gun, even if you're mistaken, but if you believe he has a gun, everyone's in the zone of danger.
I understand that too. And I understand that we want to preserve the safety of potential victims, and anyone who's in the store in this guy's vicinity is a potential victim if he's got a gun, certainly. So and that changes the whole equation, and we have to look at the cop's mindset. I granted on all of that. I was just thinking, like, wouldn't we be living in a better world if that becomes like, okay, step A is wherever possible, instruct everyone in the store, lay down on your stomach, hands over your, hands outstretched. Like, why was that not something that, if an order like that is issued, it makes it clearer that this guy's the perp? I mean, it makes it easier. How do you know you're shooting the right guy? That you're not shooting. I mean, he's lucky that the guy he shot was not someone else who fit a general description and ended up being the right guy to shoot. I mean, imagine the tragedy this would have been if not just a dead 14-year-old, but this cop ended up
in a
shooting
chaotic
someone.
scene like this. If you order everyone who's not the bad guy to get down on their stomachs and with their hands out, and some of them don't do it, and some of them won't do it, then
you're
you still
saying-
have people upright. You can't just decide, well, they stayed upright, they didn't obey my order, so they must be bad people too. It just
That's
doesn't
how
work
I
in the
shoot
real
them.
world. I could imagine it working in a movie. But in the real world, people just don't obey commands like that. Half of them are panicked out of their minds. They're just trying to achieve
Right.
safety by any means possible.
Okay.
They're not thinking rationally.
Look, I'll defer. I'll defer to you on this one. My initial take on it.
Always a good position, Joe.
Just
The other-
stand by a door with like a push sign on it sometime and watch how many people pull on it. That's how it's going to go if you yell at everybody, get down on the floor, except think of that as a panicky crowd.
I'm going to find the clip of me reading your super chat and I'm going to cram it down your throat.
I was thinking of actually taking that parsing out where you guys actually called it about how I was covering the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, both you and Angela last night, and that I really nailed it. That I said from the moment everything closed, I said I'm predicting that you're not going to get that she's going to get some acquittals, but there's going to be enough convictions that she's going to go away for multiple decades. And sure enough, 2 of the charges she's convicted on are 10 to life, minimum of 10 to life.
I think you specifically even called out the weakest one as the one she was not convicted on, right?
Yep. I was really I'm very proud that I felt like I had a feeling on this case, and I understood what's happening with the jury, with everyone there, even though I never saw the jury, just talking to other people who one after another all gave the same story about the jury and analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of this case. It's a shame that basically there's only like 200 million people on the planet who are curious about this case, and it's been seen by 12 of them. But you guys have done your part to get to promote me, and I mean that sincerely. That I'm not being facetious at all. You guys have I appreciate that you guys have continually promoted out my efforts to try and publicize what's going on in this case, and I thank you for that. So
yeah, you're welcome, man.
Very welcome.
Now I've got 3 extra super chats to read.
I'm making you money.
Mandy Karavichus says, "What are you all going to wear to Bronca's class?" Well,
it's virtual. It's by Zoom, so wear whatever you like, I guess.
Oh, this is on the break your Sabbath to come to my class.
Here comes the first. Here comes Tubin.
It's anti-Semitic.
You're anti-Semitic. Let's do this on Saturday class. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Vlad Dracul says, "Runkle, sorry my ancestors didn't finish Manifest Destiny. We tried, but apparently our failing to follow through has led to your predicament."
Nice.
Multiple times, actually.
Z. Michael Gelke says, "You can hear them call out that they see him hitting her. It's disjointed, but they saw him hit the woman and retreat behind those shelves." M. Beast Mode L says, "Nick, looking forward to watching you going deep on the bearded Slanesh worshiper tonight." Okay. Going deep is not the phrase I would have chosen, but I'm glad that you did.
We all love watching you go deep at night. So there you go.
Okay. I'm uncomfortable with that, but that's it for the show, guys. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Everybody is linked in the description. Make sure you check out their channels. Coverage of all different legal topics from all different angles and opinions.
There's a good one from Trash Man that just came up. You need to read that one.
Yeah, he says, Trash Man says, Earl's answer to the Chaos God question. This might be before your time, youngster, but have you heard of this guy named Malal? I have actually. Chris Friday says, now 4 super chats. Ended up being 6. So thank you. All right. Thanks to the panel. I'm going to play the outro, and I'm going to go to the bathroom and eat and get ready for tonight's show. I wish you all, if I don't see any of you before New Year's, I wish you all a very happy New Year's.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
See you guys. Happy New Year.
And we will talk soon. Peace. Peace.
Godspeed.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some lost-plaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes meta, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed, to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an Ardbeg, a bow, more of that broad. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter, as we hear lost blaming tonight. From the white shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the wrong better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Dante to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear Lost Blaming tonight. From the white shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no